survey work in South Wales over the last couple of years. I don't think I talked last year, but I did a talk along similar lines 2 years ago, so it's kind of covering the last couple of years, but mostly work from this year, I would say. And it's not just survey, so obviously survey work would be maybe a little bit limited, but go a bit more into sort of habitat management as well, make it a bit more diverse. So just to say a little bit, this is sort of working within BC strategy, which is a 5-year thing, and we're kind of coming towards the end of that 5 years now, 2026 finishes. And the goal well within that is to halve the number of threatened species. So we're working on about 71 species that make up that 71. And that's 12 butterflies, 13 macro moths, and 20 micro moths. So that's only around half of the threatened species on BC's list. So obviously there's way more than 12 butterflies in the UK that struggle in priorities. So it's really the highest priority, I guess. The ones where we can make a difference. So of the 38 macro moths on our list, there's about 7 in Wales. Some of those, a couple of those are only in North Wales, really. Silvery arches is on the bogs at Fens Moss, just bordering sort of Wrexham way, bordering Shropshire. And I think other than that, yeah, yellow-winged carpet is North Wales as well. The others, I've talked mostly about those today. And then there's other species on that list, that aren't on that list, sorry, like Forester, which we're also working on, so it's obviously not all priority species, as I said, we're still working on the others, but just not through that bit of the strategy. And then there's 21 microbes, about 6 of those in Wales. We've got the Steroptrix fusca, or I think the new vernacular name is the dusky heath bandworm, which is only found again up in Fens Moss up in North Wales. That's the only site apart from Cumbria in the UK for that species. It makes a really kind of scruffy looking case, which is quite distinctive on the box. And then we have an Aniophenebis, a bit more familiar species down here, which is found across Wales. I'll talk quite a bit about this one today. That's the white-spotted sable. Stunning moth, quite small, quite hard to see despite it being colourful. So the next steps for these species, obviously we need more fundamental information about them. We often don't really have up-to-date surveys, so that's kind of a basic thing. But we also need to do research on the life histories for some of them, because even though the moths in the UK are probably better studied than anywhere else, there's still quite a lot of gaps in our knowledge about free plants and habitats that they need. I'll talk a little bit as well about habitat management projects, landscape projects, so working on Silky Wave, and obviously delivering action for these is a kind of collective effort involving obviously the branch and other volunteers as well as BC staff and partner organisations as well. So I'll talk a bit about several species today. So 2 clearings that are on the list, white-barred and large red-belted. Silky Wave on Gower, white-spotted sable. This is the green-leaf flat-body Adrenopteryx atenala, and the travelling perfume, which is in the Wye Valley. There's various others I could have gone into, but I don't want to kind of can't go through everything we've done for the last 2 years. It's just gets a bit too much to squeeze into one talk. You can't go into any depth on any one species there. So the white bard is a really nice clearing, quite a big one of the bigger clearings in the UK, like striking kind of black and creamy coloured moth. This was the map in the Moth Atlas in it came out in 2019, but this included records of 2016. And the black dots there are kind of post-2000. So there's some near Wales in Forest D, but there's no Wales records in the post-2000 period shown on there at all, there were all the records. So it's looking like that species was doing really badly, which is partly why we put it on the list. However, there was a 2015 record near Merthyr that didn't make it through in time for the Atlas. It should have been on there. That's the lower red dot there. And then in 2018, it recorded up in the very northern part of BC42 Brecknock in Llanwrthol. So there were 2 records in the last sort of pre-2020. So that's quite encouraging. So we wondered maybe it's just a bit unrecorded. It comes quite well to the Foreland low. It's the same one that you use for current clearing, which comes well up to that low in the gardens. So, but this moth is only really feeding on alder and birch, often on small alder and birch. In sort of relatively open habitats, not dense woodland. So often it likes a sort of copy cycle of alder and birch. We think it's probably dependent more on alder than birch actually in the UK. It uses birch as well as alder there as well. So I did quite a lot of surveys in 2022. across Glamorgan in Wales. But I only found it at this site up near Merthyr, not in exactly the same area where I've been seen before, it's a new area, but the same site. So it was coming to the lure, but I only had it in that one place, which made me think it probably is actually quite scarce, at least down here, and not really just under recorded. But there was a new site found near North Wales as well, in Breconshire, so that's good news. And then the last 2 years, I think, well, Norman talked about this last year, I think, at this AGM, there's been quite a lot of clearing lure work done across all the species in VC42, Breconshire, and that's turning up quite a lot of records, including 4 sites for this species, the white barred, and 2 of those were new sites. So one of those is down in the Ystrad Wildlife Trust Reserve for Ystrad gun mice, which is a Marsh McTinley site, and also Cumcadlan in Innar, which is again a Marsh McTinley site, also has now we've got a big moth, so it's a very rich site. So when you put these on the map, that's the map from Breconshire website. You can see these 2 new records down here, those are the 2 slightly older ones up there. And then when you put the other recent Wales records, there's one in Newbridge-on-Wye, just outside Brecknock and Ballinashire, that's just up there. And then there was also another Tidwell site. So all of those sites are in this kind of compact area of kind of southern mid Wales, really. So it seems like maybe that's its stronghold in Wales for some reason. You do get Welsh king as well in the same area, similar sort of distribution, although that's found elsewhere in Wales, further north as well. So that's a birch feeder as well. So this kind of mid Wales area does seem quite key for some of these clearings. Unfortunately for the larger belted, it's a slightly different story. Again, it's declined massively, as you can see from the map. There's not too many black dots. In Wales, there are some recent dots. They're kind of hard to see on the coastline, but they're down there in Carmarthenshire and Glamorgan, like on the coast. But not since 2004 in Carmarthen and 2002 in Glamorgan. So quite old. This one is only feeding on birch. Seems to like either cut stumps, so in places where there's management done, you get cut birch stumps, it will use those, it really likes those. Unfortunately, a lot of those stumps these days get sprayed off with glyphosate or whatever to stop the birch tree growing, particularly on nature reserves, so that's probably part of the reason why it's declined, I think. But it also will use damaged trees, so you can see here, there's kind of some damage here, and that's the pupal case sticking out there, and there's the moth that's just emerged. So it will use kind of natural damage, where there's kind of somewhere that can get into late eggs, I think. So yeah, across 2021 to 23, did quite a few surveys with the phonal in Glamorgan, especially at Merthyr Mawr, which is where the last record was, so quite near here, but also at Kenmure as well. But didn't have any, there's no recent records from Breconshire, despite a lot of survey work there. And we also had a negative result at Penray last year. So it seems to be genuinely really struggling in Wales. Maybe it's actually gone. I mean, it needs quite a lot more survey work. If anyone's keen to get out there, there's a specific lure for that species. And the cull lure will also come to the red-belted lure as well. But it does seem like it's really struggling, not just in Wales, but right across the south of the UK. It seems to be better in Scotland than Northern England. So that's it for clearings. So we're talking about one of my favourite moths, Drablupa, which I think is kind of harshly named. Although it's plain, I wouldn't say it's a drab colour, it's quite a nice warm brown colour. Quite a nice little thing. Very distinctive actually. Only feeds on wood spurge, so that's the kind of habitat at this site, Clonmel, which is kind of atypical because it's an open kind of grassland hilltop site because it's managed for its archaeology. So this is Old Hillfort, and it's a hilltop area, so normally it's a very sheltered woodlands, but it is surrounded by trees, it's not really high hill. So this was the best Drablupa site in Wales for quite a few years, and a lot of wood spurge, as you can see here. But yeah, numbers there, I set the time count in 2017 and just walked around the site, and I used to get maybe 20 moths on that sometimes, and I think the record count at this site is about 50 or 60. But the last couple of years I've hardly any on last year, and more than this year. And the wood spurge has declined, it's still there, there's not as much. And I think what's happened is Paddy were going and mowing it sort of annually in the autumn now, whereas it used to be every 2 years sometimes. And I think the wood spurge producers just really like that annual cycle of management. But it has benefited grizzle skippers on the flip side, having more management than self-grizzle skipper, so I guess you kind of win some of these in a way. Probably hard to manage the side of both of them. The grizzles like in really open conditions. And then this is MOD High Went, which is bordering this site, so it's probably all really more population. So travelling landers will skip across the two. There's our own background. We went there in mid-May this year. Mark was with us as well. Mark organised all the surveys there. It's quite a hard site to get into these days. It's kind of, it's a military site, there's a lot of manoeuvres going on there and things. You can only get in at certain times. It's an amazing place to visit. It's got all these kind of bungs and kind of old brick sort of small houses that used to be used for the ammunition storage and things. So it's a kind of weird, really weird place. And if you go there when there's not troops around, it's really quiet. At the back of this site, which backs onto woodland, there's a lot of wood spurs growing on some backs like this. And then you've got an area like this with derelict buildings and all these kind of bright yellowy green patches in here, or wood spurs as well. So we went in and we found 7 travelling that day. We were really lucky. It was the only day that we go in and the weather was really good. And yeah, we had good numbers of travelling there. There's been more than that we've got in the past, but I think probably there's a decent population there, which is good news. This is Hendra Woods, which used to always be regarded as the best travelling site in Wales. There's only about 10 sites in total. This one's near Monmouth, quite a big woodland, really nice place to do surveys. It's kind of remote and big and feels quite wild. You don't see many people there. And there's a big stand of wood spurge in that photo. That's due to a lot of clearance of trees, partly from ash diner, partly from larch disease. So the tree disease here is a benefit to the plant, at least in the short term, because it's creating these open conditions. So I had 20th of May this year, I had 18 travelling there, which is the highest count for quite a few years. And the weather wasn't brilliant all the way through, it did cloud over, so it's probably an underestimate as well. You only really see when the sun's out, daytime and moth. So that was good news on that site. And then NW managed site, they've actually done quite a lot there over the last few years to try and help us manage the moth. We've actually worked with artists as well, with the branch. So we're keeping that site going, and it's actually doing quite well at the moment. There was a period a few years ago when I was really struggling to find them there, so it's good news that they're coming back in. We do need more surveys for this species. The late Martin Anthony used to do a lot of the work on it in the Wye Valley. He used to go out here and walk around quite a few sites, but at the moment there's no one really local who's doing any surveys for it. So if anyone lives over that way and is keen, then that's brilliant, and I can send you some maps and things, so just let me know. Okay, on to some micro moths. So the white-spotted sable, which almost feels like a macro moth because it's so kind of bright coloured and not too tiny for a micro. It's a rare species in the UK. You can see from that map that Wales is a stronghold for it. For some reason it's not found at all in South West England, even though there's a lot of similar habitat. Can't work that around, it's a bit of a puzzle. But it is found in Kent and a little bit in southeastern Surrey as well. Those populations are very small. So Kent's a stronghold, and then all around the southwest Wales coasts. There's a good population in Morecambe Bay, and then up in western Scotland as well. That's probably still a bit unrecorded. And the black squares are the post-2000 records. So this is what we sort of know the food plant is just goldenrod, just the wild goldenrod, not the garden sort of Canadian version. It's had a pretty good idea of the habitats it uses, which in say Kent is coppice woodland, like in this photo. Whereas in Wales it's more kind of rough hillsides, also on sand dunes in places. Basically anywhere where there's goldenrod growing in fairly sort of tusky conditions. But the life cycle was a bit of a puzzle, so this is kind of an ecological research example really. So the book suggested that the single generation of May, June, which is when you really see them, with a possible partial second generation in say August, with adults in late spring and feeding from June into the autumn. And there are records of larvae in the autumn. But we were finding full-grown larvae in Kent and in South Wales in late June, so it didn't really seem to tally with it's just been one generation of slow feeding larvae to go back into the summer. So we're trying to work out what was going on with the life cycle of that species. Is it in fact all breeding? And we also need a better understanding exactly what kind of plants it likes to use within the landscape. So yeah, across 2023, we had a programme of surveys and assessments across the UK, across those main populations, so that's Scotland, South Wales, Cumbria and Kent. 30 sites in total, that's one of the nice sort of wildish Scotland sites. And that's what the caterpillars look like. They hide under the lower leaves of the plant. You see the holes of the leaves, you can turn them over, and they're pretty good at just hanging on, they don't tend to fall off unless it's really hot. So you can lift the leaves up, and generally the caterpillars are just there, sitting on the underneath the leaf, not doing anything. So we're also gathering information about personal use as well. So I did quite a intensive survey last year at 2 Glamorgan sites. That's the Gripe site just near Plantrison, which is a really well-known site for it, and also a site just near Kefferly Mountain, which is a new site. So I was going back every 3 to 4 weeks and counting the number of caterpillars. So we had 143 caterpillars in total across the UK last year, 8 sites that were surveyed. So they're kind of easy to find them out of moth, really, to get the timing right. They're quite elusive. Nearly all of them under the lower leaves, usually along the vegetation. We found 7 under the kind of upper leaves along the flowering stem and kind of higher on the plant. But none among the flowers, even though the bugs do say they keep them on the flowers, but we never found any. And the host plants are often, so there's a goldenrod plant just in there. You can see it's got a bit of shade from this kind of scattered bracken by a path. So it's quite a warm little area, but the plant itself has got some shading. And that seems to be what they like the best, those kind of plants. Big plants growing in kind of partial dappled shade. That seems to be a preference. But you do find them on really quite open plants sometimes, but I've never seen them on plants growing under trees in kind of dense shade. So it seems to be a bit warm. And this was the interesting result from the Glamorgan sites last year. So this was counts of caterpillars across all these dots. And you can see there's like 2 obvious peaks with a dip in between. So it seemed at least last year it was quite clearly double brooded, with larval peaks in kind of early July and then again in September. And I did see adults again after our first generation. I've had some adults again in early August, so that also fits with that cycle. So it does seem to be double brooded in Kent. We had a similar thing, and also in South Wales. I think further north, we're not sure whether it might be single brooded, possibly partial brooded in sort of North Wales and Cumbria. What we don't know is whether that's typical, but this was really hot, like we had a really hot June last year. If we'd done it this year, we might have found something a bit different. Maybe it wouldn't have had a full second brood this year because the weather's been so bad. But because we didn't know that in advance, so we haven't programmed in to do any more work on this year. So in hindsight, we didn't have to go back and do some more work this year. But we had plenty of other things we planned in, so we couldn't really fit that in. So what's the significance of this? It means we can target the surveys a lot better in terms of knowing when to look for the adults and the larvae. If you can go and look for larvae in September, that's great, because obviously we're generally really busy in June, July with a lot of the species. So September, it's March for the larval season, but apart from that, it's less busy than the summer, so it gives you a bit more opportunity. And if you know where the larvae are on sites, obviously if you're advising management, you can say, well, the breeding here is these are the bits where you don't really cut the golden rod this time of year, or doing any kind of intensive grazing, which is really useful to know, not just where you see the adults, which they do wander around a little bit. And also, there's a big list, I don't bother reading on the names, because they're just kind of, it's too many of us, but there's an awful lot of rare micro moths on golden rod, and a couple of macros as well. There's a bleached poke and starworts, so that's a starwort caterpillar, just in Hyperactive, you know the site, just north of Cardiff. I've seen them there a couple of times. And this is the plain plume larva, Lincea tephrodactyla, which is similar to the white spotted sable. It's under the lower leaves. It's much hairy caterpillar, quite easy to separate. So there's a whole load of rare moths. So if you manage for white spotted sable, which is a bit of a flagship for the goldenrod species, you're also going to benefit quite a few of these, although some of them might be found in other parts of the UK, several of them in Wales. And we have a fact sheet on the BC website if anyone's interested in more goldenrod information. So that's on there if you just look that up. There's quite a bit of information about it. Yeah, go on.
So we hit that under the record after that target I put last year?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe not in Kent and more places, but I think in Wales, because it's a bit more widespread, a bit more diffuse populations, it's a bit harder to target where you might find them. So I did find that population at Carefully last year, and there's 1 or 2 we found in Pembrokeshire in recent years. So I think probably we went out and surveyed more systematically across kind of, especially across the valleys maybe. There might be a few sites out there. We don't know about, because that would be quite hard to see. So yeah, I just did a couple of surveys this year. There's Alabama grasslands, which is obviously a really good marsh strip site. Haven't been seen there since 2015, but I found the golden one was really quite small because it's in the same units as the kind of marshy grass that's kind of around the edges under the bracken. So it's getting grazed by the cows quite a bit. So the plants were quite small, didn't see flowering stems, and I didn't find any caterpillars. But better news at Abercregan, which is up near sort of north of my state in the valleys. There's just 1 adult record from that site and 1 individual. It's quite, it feels more like some of the Scottish sites, I think. It's quite heathy, quite wild, surrounded by hills. There's quite a bit of golden rod growing along heather and things up there in Bracken. And had 11 caterpillars there, so there's quite a big population there of lots of guineas. There's the caterpillar from that side. I'll say a little bit about the greenweed flatbody now. That's just feeding on Dyer's greenweed, so it's specific to that one plant. It's only known for about 10 sites in England and then 2 sites just near the north in southeast Glamorgan. So that's Lavender Point Nature Reserve and Cosmestic Country Park. They were only found in 2019. There's also a second species there, Miracle Carmel and Tichenocella on the same plants. So there's the sites, there's Lavender right down the coast, and the Wildlife Trust Reserve where it's in a few fields. And then Cosmeston is a bigger site with more diffuse kind of, the golden was quite, sorry, the Dyer's greenweed is quite patchy in 4 different places there. But you've got kind of, yeah, that's what we're saying about intensive farming in the Vale, and between those two, you've just got quite intensive farming and private housing development going on as well. So there's not much chance of connecting those up. So this is the habitat at, or some of the habitat at Cosmeston. You've got an old big bank of spoil from the kind of former quarrying there. This is one of the big lakes, the edge of it. And you can see all the Dyer's greenweed growing on here, just coming into flower. And the caterpillars are kind of found in the tips of the shoots, the neck is spinning. That's the greenweed flatbody. The bigger one really fast, you've got a pot under the plant when you're open spinning, so they tend to just leaf out with you, and you tend to lose them there in vegetation. So if you catch it in the pot, you can put it back on the plant. And the counts, I've been doing this kind of trial monitoring there, where I do a systematic kind of time count every, so a certain amount of time, you count for like 2.5 hours or something across the site, and count the number of caterpillars. And I don't know, I can't explain this because the habitat hasn't really changed. Well, at Lavenock, I'd say if anything's gone down in the habitat, it's got less managed and the amount of breeding has gone down. But the numbers at Lavenock have gone up every year about the same amount. And at Cosmeston, it's just been very slightly decline or just flat essentially. So the habitat at Cosmeston, if anything, looks the same every year, so I can't really explain why.
Maybe it's because there's less plants for you to look at, you can find them.
There's a bit of that, but there's some of the fields I'm just kind of searching all of it, so I just like the density has actually increased. Maybe that might have been the case this year, but I think the previous couple of years I don't think that was true. So I don't know. But yeah, it's slightly different habitat as well. It's quite tussocky there, whereas this is more open, so not be partly away looking. So future plans to establish Dyer's greenweed in some new areas of Cosmeston is quite something we'd like to do because there's some big areas that are kind of quite like this, quite sparse, and would probably be suitable for it, but the plant's just not there. It's probably just never got there. So it's not an easy plant family to get going and get established on site, but we'd like to do some more of that, working with the rangers there at Cosmeston. They do quite a bit of management. Okay, on to some silky waves. So this is the Gower, one of the Gower sites at Overton. This moth is only known from these 3 UK sites, so that's the Great Orme in North Wales, the Gower, and then the Avon Gorge. All of those are carboniferous limestone, or look sort of similar in a way, although the Avon Gorge obviously isn't quite on the coast like the other two. Gower, it's on these kind of sub-sites over Overton where these red squares are, although it's in other areas there as well, on the Wildlife Trust Reserve. And then at Horton, it's over here, just to the east of Horton village itself. And then you've got kind of Port Island in between, where the north isn't really a suitable habitat in this area between the two. So Overton, the Wildlife Trust site there, the grazing was introduced in 2017 because it was getting very overgrown with gorse. It's quite hard to tackle with gorse. There was kind of manual gorse cutting going on that really was struggling to keep on top of it and just making it wildfires. So they've been quite proactive about getting pony and cattle in there and cutting breaks to get fire breaks and also to allow the cattle and ponies to move around. The habitat has definitely improved and the numbers of moths have increased, but there's still a lot of gorse. So this is where this Natural and Biff project comes in. So this is a big, you probably all know about it, as well as a big flagship conservation project. Working partnership with 9 charities plus MIW, focusing on 67 whales and most species, including, from our point of view, silky wave and the high brown titillary. So the high brown has got its own specific project, and then some of them are area focused. So the silky wave is part of the Swansea Bay project. Dr. Life are leading on the Swansea Bay one and BC partners in that doing the silky wave part of the work. So we had a site meeting back in December last year, we got about the only dry day in December, so we were very lucky. There's Alan over there, and there's Mark as well, who's here as well from the PC. So we're meeting with the Grazier, the site manager Paul Thornton from Wildlife Trust, and other people from Wildlife Trust and BugLife there as well, just to discuss how we're going to take that forward and get work done. So this is the kind of thing that's happening at the site. Got some really nice species of grassland, home to lots of rare species. Got a silky wave. But you've also got big areas of gorse. You can see what's happened there. And you've got a big patch of gorse. There's been a big fire, wildfire gone through and taken out that whole area in spring this year. So the idea is to, by benefiting the site for silky wave, is also breaking up the gorse into smaller patches and making less chance of that sort of thing happening in the future. So here's Mark. This is just doing the survey this year. You just basically go along with a big stick and tap bushes. The moth hides in the bushes by day. It's not flying by day. You can tap them out quite easily. So it's in these little bits of gorse. Also blackthorn and things in there. So you walk on with a stick and you just tap the bushes and they fly out and you can count them quite easily. So it works well as a method. And the habitat he really likes is this kind of stuff in the foreground. So a mix of the gorse, the shelter, low gorse, and then nice bits of grass with rock rose, which is a big one. What it doesn't like is kind of dense areas and stuff like that. So the project aims really to open up some of the spuddy areas. So you can see here, it's not, I don't think it stands out in one photo, but it's quite subtle management in a way. It's kind of creating paths through to enable the graziers to go in there, so the ponies and the cows will go through. So you can see the path being cut through that dense gorse, and all of that yellow in there is bits of rock rose flowering. So that would all be, it was probably there before, but it would be hidden along the gorse a lot more. So by opening that up, it's creating more habitat for the moth and enabling grazing to get there as well. And the numbers this year have been bonkers really. It's not because of this project, we can't claim some kind of success because it happened on the Great Orme as well, and there's another project going on there, there hasn't been a management going on there, but the same thing on the Great Orme, but all of the sub-sites apart from Horton this year, the numbers have just gone through the roof. So Mark and I in late June had a count of 412 moths across 5 sub-sites, which is about 4 times as many as normal. Normally 100 is a good count. So it just had a really, despite everything else, having a really bad year this year, it seems to really like the, I don't know, it's a Mediterranean species largely, and I think the caterpillars are feeding through the winter, so maybe a warmer winter is kind of okay for it. It probably maybe doesn't like the cold all that much. It's only on kind of warm microsites. And we also had really good adult weather for the counts at the end of June. Although this summer's been bad, we did have a week or two of really good weather at the end of June, which is when their peak season was. So I think they just happened to fly at the right time this week as well, which helped to get the counts in. Some years you just can't get the counts in, it's too windy. Another bonus from that was finding this species, a large buff case bearer, Coleophila ocrea, so that's the larval case. The caterpillar's living inside there, it's making its case out of bits of rock rose leaf, so it mines the leaf, photos here, so it attaches the case to the leaf on the other side, so the little hole is, and then it goes into the leaf and eats the leaf, and then it will go and attach somewhere else. You can see there, there's quite a few places where it's been and attached and eaten those bits of leaf, and that's the case there. And that's really rare species in the UK wide, really, on 10 or 12 sites maybe. In Wales, we've just a record from the Horton site, last in 2002 or something like that. But we found it across all the sub-sites at Overton as well this year, so we found quite a few. So that's another species also on rock rose that's likely to benefit from this work with the silky wave. Well, there's the moth, that was a year ago, so I just happened to get there on the right day and I've got a few of them sat around in the class. Quite big for the Coleophila. Right, and lastly, I didn't put this in the title slides, but this is bedgrass tip, so something a bit different. This is a coal spoiled site, which we have a huge number in South Wales. This particular one is threatened by developments, reworking for coal, which seems kind of bonkers when we don't have any coal-fired power stations in the UK anymore, but there's a proposal to go in and rework it all and extract more coal, which would be very bad in so many ways. I mean, there's a lot of people living quite nearby, and another one that has been very controversial with dust and noise coming from that as well. So there's all kinds of negatives from it, not just from biodiversity point of view. So BugLife are leaving on an objection. Alan's been quite involved with it from a BC point of view. It's got grizzle skipper there, sorry, not grizzle, grayling, and dingy skipper. They might have grizzles, we don't know. We're doing some more surveys. But we didn't know much about the moths. This is when we went in late August, so it's not looking its best this time of year, so the flowers have gone over. you get professionals, there's going to be quite a lot of nice bare ground water sites in there. So it also has a lot of green, which is something unusual for college style secondary in terms of green one. This one's got a lot of green. So we went in late August, did some general recording, and then I wanted about green tip moth, which is quite a scarce species. It's been recorded just a couple of kilometres away. So I went back in mid-September and did some beating and had three of the green tip larvae on that site. So it's really good to know that green tip's there, because that gives us a bit of ammunition in terms of fighting potential developments of that site. So it's quite a scarce and declining species. Not one of our highest priorities, but it's certainly on the list of some medium priority species. It's declined a lot, and it's the sort of borders, particularly Gwent and Gloucestershire, and a strong hope from there. Right, I think that's it. That's the last slide. Okay, thank you.